Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Stompbox Situation. My name is Austin.
And my name's Ian, and we are super excited to bring to you guys our first ever talking episode. If you don't count the first one, which was all talking. But that one was us talking about us, and today we're going to talk a little bit more about gear in the music industry and whatever's on our mind. Austin, do you want to share the topic of today's episode? The main topic?
So Ian gave me a call the other day, and we were just talking about how he wants to approach his pedalboard. Like what he wants to do with it. And he was saying, I just want a small board that's really versatile. You know, it's not going to break my back whenever I need to carry it somewhere. I want to be able to go through a lot of effects. He was kind of thinking about getting a pedal that had a fuzz, a delay, an OD on it, right?
Yeah, like, you know, one of Keeley's workstations. I was kind of checking those out, looking at some other ones. But yeah, like I was looking for basically one of those big old multi-FX bricks. Got to the point in the conversation where Austin's like, you know, you're often talking a lot about efficiency and size and saving room. And he's like, maybe you're a Line 6 Helix guy. And that was the literal feeling I had in that moment. It was like, it was like someone saying like, hey dude, maybe you're like a Yamaha electric guitar guy.
Yeah.
And just shameful. But you know, Austin brought up a good point in that moment. It occurred to me like, I am somebody who in a lot of ways, I'm always looking for efficiency. I'm always looking for portability. And although I'm not really out gigging right now, I just feel like I'm the type of person. I look at Austin's board, and although it's literally one of the most beautiful boards I've ever seen.
Wow.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I wouldn't want to carry that big of a board for me personally.
Oh my God, no.
You know?
Yeah. No, it's a pain in the ass. I go to a show, I unload all my shit, which isn't a lot of stuff, because I feel like all the drummers right now are like, oh, come on, dude, you're being a bitch. You know?
Right,
it's just
like they're carrying their
pedal
drum
board and
stand.
a guitar, and they're like carrying their whole set and all the hardware and everything, but carrying around this heavy-ass pedal board. And like, I'm the kind of guy that can barely pick up his amp, you know? I'm getting old.
Yeah.
My back's starting to hurt, you know?
Are you like 22, 21?
Yeah. So, you know. But I definitely see what Ian's saying, so that's why I was thinking getting a big board with a lot of individual stomp boxes, you know, like this is my heavy OD, this is my transparent OD, this is my phaser with more top end, this one has a little bit more low mids. You know, you like kind of get to the point where your board becomes overwhelming. That's why I was thinking Ian's wanting to do the pack up and go, hit the bars, play that quick gig, get home.
Yep. Or maybe you just trying to meet up with a friend to like work on some music. You guys are getting a new group together, or like we've all been in that scenario where we meet somebody, right? It's like, yo man, let's jam together. And part of the thinking I think for everybody is like, shit, like what gear am I bringing? How am I going to get it there? Like, are we going to that guy's place?
What guitar am I going to play? What kind of music is this?
Yeah, exactly. Like, and sometimes it's even like, do I need to swap some pedals out? Or are we going to have a style of music that might call for something different that I don't have? And at that point, like you're saying, it occurred to us, we should do a podcast just talking about the whole like size, storage, portability of pedal boards, and sort of like based off this whole idea, like, is Ian a Line 6 Helix user type guy, right?
Yeah.
Because those types of people out there exist. And you know, maybe I'm one of them.
And I feel like everybody looks down on those multi-effects guys, you know? But then Ian was saying on the phone, we were talking on the phone about this, and he said, I don't want to be that guy that shows up to practice with a Line 6 Helix or a multi-effects board. And I was just saying, you know, if you're showing up to practice or an audition for a band, and the band looks at your board and then kind of shuns you for it or shames you for it, you don't want to play for that band, you know?
Yes.
Kind of dicks then.
Exactly. Yeah, that was a great point Austin made. Do you even really want to play with those guys?
Yeah.
No, not really, right? It's like you can make boss jokes all day long.
Yeah.
But if you showed up and a guy was rocking a shit ton of boss and then you made fun of him, he just would not be cool. It's like, why would you want to play with those people? So I think it's kind of the same sort of deal with the Line 6 Helix. It's like, it's the size of most small to medium pedal boards. And one of my guitar teachers, or my current guitar teacher, he was telling me he has one, and he swears they're better or equal to, or if not better than, some of the analog sounds he's heard over his 30 years as a guitar player. And so I thought that was interesting because, like, there's a guy who is a PhD in jazz. He does it full time, and he uses a Line 6 Helix. And someone might say, well, duh, he's a jazz guy. But, you know.
He probably got tired of, pedals shitting on him, or that fucking really specific wiring, individual power.
Yeah, that's my thinking that I always go through. I think the thing that I've got a little bit of like the lazy gene when it comes to these types of things. Like I look at your board, and you can check it out on our Instagram, the Stompbox situation, if you want to check it out. This is Austin's pedal board, or at Austin Asvononda on Instagram. The thing with his board is like, it's beautiful. It's fantastic to use. I mean, I don't think anything on there is wasted space, but I think about like me trying to wire that and like do all the custom wiring for it. And it's like, I think I'm like too lazy for it, right? Like I don't know that I'd want to sit down and do it. And so I think that's, where for someone like me who maybe has a little bit of that lazy gene, it could influence your thinking a lot. Like you said, there's a lot to worry about: power, wiring, making sure things are like alive and working. And you constantly, I feel like, have to test it or settle on like a version of your pedal board and keep it for a while, which is, again, kind of challenging. Like I always think about like, what if you want to switch up?
Totally.
Right. Like the fuzz you're using, or the phase you're using, or what if you just want to like an effect on there you don't even have, right? So
I can't really do it.
No, you can't. Arguably you can't.
Yeah.
Well, and that's kind of where my thinking goes, as one of those guys. But you're on the other end of it. It's like you use a big pedal board. So maybe you could share some of like where you find, I don't know, it's beneficial. Like what draws you to having a bigger pedal board?
Part of me really likes the complexity of it. Going to school for audio engineering, I just think it's really cool doing somewhat of an intricate wiring job, or like thinking about signal flow and like where issues could happen and then preventing those issues. I just find that really interesting, and I think it's a fun thing to tackle. But I get what you're saying though. So like doing that on stage while playing, if something goes wrong, like if my delay's not coming through, there could be a lot of things that's going wrong right now. It could be that cable, it could be the looper, it could be the delay, it could be the power, like.
So yeah, exactly. It's like it would be like using it wouldn't be the problem as much as the in-between, right? You have to have like a dedication for the in-between, which I don't know that I have sometimes, where it's like, I'll come over to your house sometimes, or I have in the last few months, and Austin will be like wiring a new setup, or he'll be like, oh, hold on, I got to solder this wire. It's not the right length, and I think like, oh shit, like,
fuck that.
Yeah. Like part of me's like, fuck that. But then I realize that's a certain level of laziness. Like you said, you really enjoy, you get a satisfaction out of like the intricacy of the wiring and stuff. And I can understand that, because like when you plug your board in, like to see that many pedals on a board and hear how clean your signal is on like a dry signal. Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable, because sometimes people have big boards, but there's some like buzz and some like, I don't know, some feedback in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I could understand your side of it as well.
Well, going back to why I have a board on the larger side, I just had all these pedals, to be honest. And like there were times where I would use 2 or 3 on one song, but I would use a couple on a different song, and like I didn't want to sacrifice that tone, so I just thought, put it all on one board, so I can access everything whenever I want, especially if I want to change genres and stuff,
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know.
Well, no, that's where I mean, and that's why I think, again, another reason why we decided to do this episode today, it was like, we thought, what a hilarious idea of like me potentially being a Line 6 Helix guy, but then also the flip side of that, the like implications of that is like, we thought like we should dig into a little bit of like storage and the thinking behind different size pedal boards, and like I think exactly what you're saying, like about the reason why you want a big pedal board is part of the reason I sit on the fence, right? It's like, because I like my pedals I have now, but I could understand where if you had 4 or 5 more on there, like you said, you could switch between genres pretty easily, and without having to reprogram a section in your Helix, without having to, or whatever other multi-effects board you might have.
Yeah.
And without having to take anything off. So like that's something I see all the time, especially coming by and seeing your board. It's like, got a lot of choices. You never have to you never have to make a sacrifice, quote unquote, in a way, right?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. But to counter that, I'm thinking you won't get the same exact sound that you could get from this board, because I feel that every board is unique in its way, you know, like the signal chain and how they made the wires and everything, and like what cables they chose and connectors.
That's a great point.
A board with, you know, a Big Sky timeline and then an El Cap and a diamond tremolo. Can you just put that on the line 6 and do some sort of settings on the line 6 helix, like a multi-effects processor, and then save the money of cables and power supply and board space?
Yeah,
you know
see,
what I mean?
yep, yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, it's a wonderful point. It's why I sit on the fence sometimes. Like, you know, like you said, it's like you could program a crunchy frog sound. You could program an El Cap. You could program the diamond tremolo.
Yeah.
From what I know, you could program almost direct emulations of these. And so, like you said, at that point, it's like, what the line 6 helix is like 1,600 used, or I think something like that, maybe 17 or 18 new. If you think about all the time and money you'd spend, like wiring up a board, getting it perfect, I mean, like think about even just buying 2 Strymon pedals. Like you're already half of the way there. Yeah, more than half, right? Yeah. And so, you know, that's definitely some of the thinking. It's like, oh, well, do you just keep going this way and adding things to your board and eventually having this expensive pedal board that's still somewhat, you know, static, if you will, right?
Yeah.
Like,
or still obtainable from something at a cheaper cost. Kind of thing.
Or do you go to the line 6 where, like you said, it's like you save all this money on these like middle costs, these like interim costs. Like,
I mean, let's be honest, man. Like, you know, you're playing a show at your local bar or winery, or you're doing a opening, or you're doing a headlining show.
Yeah, even a freaking open mic. Even a freaking
open mic. Is someone really going to notice the difference between a carbon copy and a Big Sky as an individual, like, you know, just straight up pedals versus the multi-effects processor? Is someone in the crowd really going to notice? Maybe like guitar
Probably
freaks.
Not. I mean, yeah, someone with your ear, you might notice a different style of delay, right? Or a different style of reverb. You might say, oh, this is a little different. Oh, this has got a little more headroom. Like I could see someone like you maybe being able to make some acknowledgement, but like you're 95% of people, right?
Yeah.
No one's going to notice. I know, and that's like where it goes to this other debate where it's like, is the board for you or is it for other people?
I was so going to say that.
Right?
I was going to say, like, this board is mostly for me because I like doing these wirings, you know, and I don't know. I just enjoy doing that stuff. So I guess in a sense it is for me.
Yeah. Which actually is probably the side of it you want to be on, right? Because if you're, I mean, like you said, if you're making your board for the audience, they don't fucking know. So in some ways you can't make your board for the audience, actually. Because if you are, you're really just making it based off the premise that you're worried about what other people think, and people who don't even have the ability to think something about, I think, some of these multi-effects or some of these effects, right? So,
you know, and another thing you have to think about a lot too is when you get a bigger board is how much space you're going to take up on stage. You know, like I never really thought about that because I play the guitar. It's like, okay, I'm not going to take up a lot. I just need an amp, pedal board, and then me, you know? But like if you think about it, I'm taking up a lot of stage space.
Yeah, I hear what you mean. You're in the early stages of your music career, which we are in a lot of ways, whatever that means, right? Like there's a lot of touring and playing done at smaller venues, right? And we've all been on that stage where it's like you're literally, everybody's crammed onto the stage in like a 10-foot radius. You know, we've all been, I felt like, on a stage that small. And so that's where, yeah, you know, it's like, do you want the real estate taking up that much room? And do you need it? You know, that's another question that I always think about. It's like, like if I was touring full time with somebody or my own thing and you had some roadies or you had, it's like if your whole day, your whole production value was about like the music and playing that show that night, you could probably understand having a board your size, like easy. I mean,
yeah,
it would make sense, but then it's like, sometimes I think about my pedal board and it's like, it's like I don't have that many pedals, but it's like I don't even use the ones I have that often.
Yeah, but
for most musical styles, you know? And so I think about that often too, you know, like shit, when you actually play with people, how often are you really using these different pedals.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, the thing is, I did a band practice with Ian's board because he just left his board here one day. So I took the output of mine into the input of his.
Badass.
And it was really cool. You know, there was a lot of cool textures in the OD and the fucking Ottawa. Oh. It was just really cool. It didn't work for the music.
Sure.
You know,
yeah,
just
totally.
Different sound, but it was fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
And I mean, and like, I have such a simplistic board, at least at the moment, and I'm learning from the guru over here, Austin, who really, I feel like is a board guru. But if you saw my board, you'd be like, oh, that's like a dad's pedal board or something, right? Like, it's so simple, but like you said, I mean, I can go through a lot of different styles with that. Where I get in troubles, like when I think I'm trying to do a little more like, I guess maybe like shoegazy, soundscapey stuff, but it's like, even then I can lean on my reverb, I can lean on my delay a little. It's not terrible, but I'm just making that point too, because it's like, I'm saying I have limited pedal space, and I'm asking a question like, how much do we all really use those extra effects we have? Because I think, you know, when you see a lot of people out there gigging, oftentimes they're gigging music that isn't their own, right?
Yeah.
Or that is maybe somebody else's, and it's like, that sometimes literally only requires an OD, a reverb, and like maybe a delay, you know? And it's funny because sometimes you'll see people's boards out there like touring with certain styles of music, and it's like 3 pedals or 4 pedals. And so I don't know. I'm just thinking about that, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm also thinking about, you know, you get those session gigs going on a tour and everything. I never got one of those, so I don't really know how it works, but do they pay for, you know, shipping this big ass board? Would they pay for that, or am I going to pay for that? Because I could see the controversy of, you know, he's really good. He's a good guitar player. He has a great sound, but we just can't afford shipping his gear around. You know? And at that point, are they going to say like, you need to break down to a smaller board so it's, you know?
I don't think anybody's going to tell you to cut it down, but I think you might feel that pressure of like, oh shit, there's a lot of van space, right? Like, or there's a lot of space for me, and if you're flying, you got to.
I was thinking about flying.
Yeah, you gotta be able to like, ship it or carry it on, I guess, right?
And like, you can't carry this on.
No,
you gotta ship this bitch.
You do gotta ship that bitch.
That's like a cost that you have to think of. And do they have that cost? Like, can they afford shipping out, you know, your gear? Or say you work on, you know, like a per night thing. So say you make like $200 every show. Does that shipment come from your pay?
Yeah,
I guess we're kind of going off on a stray, but it could loop back around to be, you know.
I hear you.
The downside of having a larger board, like maintenance and keep up.
No, I think it's a great point. I mean, it's like you're thinking about the logistics of actually bringing that around on a tour. And
god awful. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, I think a lot of people travel by bus.
Yeah.
But then there are others people who fly, and I'm willing to bet their gear goes on the road, right? Like in a truck that's probably meant for the band or meant for them. Like I know, like I heard the lead singer of the Bahamas say this at the show on Wednesday. He was saying he flew from their last gig to California. And he was saying like he wished he spent the day in Utah with his band. But so like he was saying they drive, but he flies. And that was interesting. I never really thought of that before, but I realized like I guess that happens too, where like the lead guy flies and then the band drives because maybe they only, like with the Bahamas, I know he used D'Angelo's rhythm section, right, for the album.
Yeah.
So that means his band that plays with him normally wasn't the one on the album. So I guess it's the difference between like a studio band and a touring band. But like, anyways, I just thought that was interesting that like they drove separately, and I was thinking, well, that means his gear must go with them in that case, which means...
I wonder why that is.
Yeah.
Do you think he just wants to chill? Kind of thing? Like, oh, I don't want to sit in a car.
This is the vibe I got. I don't know for sure. It seems like he's gotten to the point where he like deserves to fly. Like
he's the boss man.
Yeah, and he toured with other people as their sidemen for many years, and then he's done his own thing for like 7 years now. And I feel like at that point it's like you're probably pretty tired of traveling in a truck if you don't have to, or traveling in a van.
He did his time.
He did his time. Exactly. That's what I was thinking.
He's spending his money to fly there instead of drive there.
But then he also, I mean, this is unrelated, but he told the story of like wishing he spent the day in Utah anyways with his band because he tried to meet somebody in LA who like had to cancel last minute on him, and so he was
he's just stuck in LA.
Yeah, so he's like, oh, that was boring. But so I don't know. I was thinking about that. It's like, so his gear must be going on the road with them, right?
Yeah, I would imagine then.
A little bit of a tangent, but just thinking about the different setups. A lot of the guys I see out there touring now who like are quote unquote successful session guitarists have like a board about half the size of yours. And
of mine?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've seen bigger ones.
Just like the normal medium sized.
Yeah. But then people who play like in a band, it's like their band or they're the guitarist of the band. I see often have pedal boards about as big as yours.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking of like the difference there. I think maybe, right, like you're on somebody else's tour. You know what you're going to use or not use. And maybe it's just like literally the sake of saving your back, like showing up at the gig and just being like plop, 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 done. Right.
Yeah.
Like you drop your board, drop your amp.
I have to bring this.
Yeah. Part of your sound.
Yeah.
And it's also you like your toolbox for that band. I don't know. So, we came full circle.
Full circle. Damn. So I don't know, man. Like, what do you think? What are you leaning on? The name of the episode, I think, would be, is Ian an Axe Effects kind of guy, or Line 6 Helix, or just multi-processor?
Yeah.
Does Ian want that?
Yeah. For Line 6 Helix, just insert any multi-processor there, right? Like, am I that type of guy? I don't know. I think we thought this episode would be funny in some ways because a lot of people have a stigma about multi-effects boards. And we thought it'd be interesting because we could get into all these different topics. But I think I'm kind of in the same place I was before and kind of have always been with it, where it's like, I was sharing this with Austin earlier this week. It's like, I love the idea of the Line 6 Helix, of a multi-effects board. I love the idea of like something that saves you space, saves you time. You don't have to fuck around with. You don't have to worry about breaking on you or anything. Although I guess they could break. I doubt you have to worry about it as much, right?
Yeah.
I still go back to feeling like I would miss the physical pedals themselves. Like it always comes back to that for me. Like
the emotional connection to that pedal?
Yes. Yeah. Like it's almost like a game. Like, can I get by with this size of pedal board or with these pedals and get everything done that I want to? Where like if you have the Line 6 Helix, it's like at that point, like I almost don't ever then have to probably think about effects that much ever again, right? It's like all of a sudden at that point I just start programming patches for different scenarios, and it's like they're all named. I never have to think about it. Well, I just think about how, like, in some ways, like, yeah, you'd lose maybe some of the interactiveness, maybe some of the artistry in designing your pedal board, and some of just like I like the idea a little bit of the analog existence, right? Like, I think we're getting away from sometimes just playing the instrument, playing guitar, and like it being about guitar playing.
Okay.
And I think like in some ways I would feel like the Line 6 Helix or something like that would be like another step away from.
Really? I would say that. Well,
I'm just thinking out loud here.
I guess I'm
just thinking out loud here.
Okay. You're like, whoa, man.
No. I'm just saying, like, nothing's said for certain here.
Okay. Because you're saying like it's gonna take you away from actually playing the guitar, but are you referring to like an analog board or stomp boxes kind of thing? The medium size, small size, large? Like what size of a board? Or
like a small to medium. But like let's say I went to the larger side, like a more medium sized one, or one like mine that was fully beefed out maybe.
Yeah. Because then I see what you're saying. Because then having the flexibility of like a Line 6 Helix, or like keeping that option open. Is that what you're saying? Like it's kind of...
Yeah, it's like...
You're not committing to something, so then...
Yeah, it's like you never have to commit to a sound. I'm just going to list off some things I'm thinking of it.
Okay.
Like, you never have to commit to a sound specifically. You could have literally a bank for every guitarist you love and multiple... Like you could be like, oh, this is an Eric Clapton Layla tone or whatever. And this is a... John Mayer Continuum tone, like specifically from Gravity or something. Or this is my Jeff Beck tone. And like, I feel like there's some sort of like cheating going on there. Like you could just so easily just have a tone on your board and like skip over. Like there's no thought that goes into it as much, right?
This tone wouldn't be you. Like it wouldn't be a representation of you and your style if you had the Line 6? Just not in the lines, just a multi-effects processor.
Like a multi-effects. I think it's more like the whole process. Like I enjoy the idea of wiring a board in a lot of ways. Like even though mine's simple, I enjoy the whole analog existence of like literal physical stomp boxes that you're interacting with, right? Like things you're interacting with physically versus something where it's much more digitally based. And the Helix, it's like you'd program it, but there wouldn't be room for... It's like there's so much room for variability that it's like, I don't know, like then are you ever really deciding on anything that's certain with your sound? Are you finding your sound specifically, right? Are you then just like an emulation machine and you just could like emulate any tone you want, which you could just program like thousands of patches in there. And I'm just arguing like, does that get you away from some of the experience of like interacting with the pedals, spending a couple hours like figuring out what sounds good, and then maybe even committing like you have to like a certain pedal board? Like, isn't there something attractive there?
Yes.
You know, isn't there something like...
You're saying that it doesn't feel genuine to you if someone had a multi-effects processor.
Yes.
Not someone like if, you know, yourself, I feel like you're saying that you would feel you're not committing yourself to something that you like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
If you look at your board, there's an auto wah, there's a tremolo, there's a chorus, and then a very transparent OD, and I feel like you can kind of figure out what he plays. Because who the fuck has an auto wah these days?
No, yeah,
you know
right.
What I mean? Versus, I think you're saying like who you are and how you want to represent yourself by the sound of your guitar.
Yeah, that's a great refinement.
And you aren't getting the same commitment level you would be getting versus getting analog pedals kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or just individual.
Yeah, that's an excellent refinement.
This is the chorus that I like. Mm-hmm. This is the OD that I like. Mm-hmm. Versus like I have 100 different chorus options.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at, right? It's like
who are you?
Yeah, who are you? And then like, are you ever really deciding on anything? And I'm questioning, is that bad, right? Like in a way, if you could just, oh, fuck it, willy-nilly, I'll just switch this chorus. It's like there's something that like trains a certain patience or focus on like who you are and what your sound is by like having to develop a pedal board. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Like this is my
like you have to
overdriven tone.
Yeah, you have to like order a pedal and wait till it gets here and wire it in and try it out and see the high gain or low gain or medium gain, or you have to experiment with the phase and find something on the phase 100 you really like. Like you have to really spend the time. Where I'm thinking with the Line 6 Helix, like it would be so easy to just reprogram or change it. I feel like you could just constantly be at the effect of like changing your board and changing your sound, and I don't know. Yeah.
Like
I think you hit it on the head though. It's like an identity thing. It's like in some ways, like, right, I look at your board and it's like I identify you with a lot of those sounds. You know?
So it's kind of like dating, you know? You have that friend that dates a lot of people for, a couple of weeks at a time, and you're saying you want to have a solid, serious relationship right now. I think you don't want to just go on a bunch of dates, and dates would be a multi-effects processor to you.
Yeah, in a way, and it's
you want to find that right girl, and then cut custom length cables to it.
Yeah, even if it's that right girl for 3 months, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's just where I hang on the fence, or I just constantly question. It's, that grass does always look greener when you think of the dating multiple people, the quick in and out, like a Line 6 Helix, like, oh, I'll just swap my tone out. But I'll
just change the order of my pedals.
Exactly. Boom. You're done. And it's like, some people would say, well, dude, that's like way more efficient and you're just getting something done faster. But I'm just wondering, it's like, does it take away from like the part of the creative process? Like when you're settling on that one girl or whatever, it's like you inevitably learn a lot about yourself because you're saying like, oh, I'm okay with this, and this. And I'm just thinking with the Line 6 Helix, like, do you ever learn about your tone or the tones you really like? Because I've noticed, like, when I had one of those little like Vox Tone Labs.
Yeah.
And it doesn't sound great, but it models a lot of cool different effects and amps, and it's like I would just get lost in it for hours. and never quite play or develop a patch that I loved, you know? And so I just think like, I don't know, I feel like that could happen. You just get lost in the soup of effects with Line 6 Helix or a multi-effects processing board.
No, I see what you're saying. It's kind of like I think it's a Line 6 M9. Is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
I hope that's what it's called.
There's like
it's
Line
not the
6
H9.
pods, not the pod.
It's not the pod. I think it's an M9. I'm not too sure.
I don't know either, but we're going to say it's an M9.
Let's say it's an M9. Yeah. But I had that, and I know what you're saying. It's a multi-effects pedal. So I was going through a lot of the different sounds that it had to offer, and I just felt some disconnect between me and my guitar because I just felt like I'm getting all these weird sounds in like all these presets, but none of these mean anything to me.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's like that's exactly what I've been struggling to put into words for like the last 10 minutes.
It's not like my setting. It's Line 6 setting being like, this is cool, and then I'm playing through it.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, it's like you didn't find that sweet spot on your pedal where you said to yourself, man, I really like the way this makes my guitar sound, and like I'm going to leave it there on my board. It's like, for me, I'd get there and I'd switch in and out of effects really easily, and it, like you said, it's kind of like there was a disconnect for sure between me and my guitar. It felt less, I don't know, I guess analog's the word for me, like less like I was just...
Less personal.
Yeah, going right into a pedal and then right into my amp. Mm-hmm. And you know, and it also comes to like even the physical, or the idea of physically stomping on a pedal, like clicking a pedal or even a pedal switcher. I mean, there's something attractive about that. There's something enjoyable.
Yeah.
You know? So
it would be interesting to get a Line 6 Helix in here. Do a board shootout or something.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. I'd love to just try one. I'm sure we could at like a Guitar Center.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would like that too.
Curious how that would handle. Maybe a pod of some sort.
Mm-hmm. Well, I remember, you know, my brother had a pod, and it was enjoyable, for sure. And he had a lot of great settings on it. But I think it's almost like what I'm finding for myself as we're talking is like, again, it goes back to that lazy gene. It's like, is it easier to wire a pedal board and deal with that than it is to spend hours like programming your Helix or your pod or whatever it is? Like, because in some ways that's almost more time consuming. You know,
but the thing is, man, like getting a looper as well with your pedals to do presets and everything like that, like the Helix would offer, you spend just the same amount of time, you know, if not more, because now you have to make the cables for it, you know.
Very true. Yeah. This is why I'm on the fence, folks.
Yeah, but you don't see a lot of loopers out there. You know, you just see people, a lot of people just running their pedals in like series, you know?
Yeah. Out
of one straight into another one.
You do see that almost more often than you see having a little switcher, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, you know, you definitely see, especially I'd say the smaller boards, you see people, or the medium to small boards, see way less loopers or switchers on there. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you see those single line ones, right? Like that are just cool. Like, that are super thin.
Yeah.
I could see where that could be useful, especially if you finish setting your board up and you kind of know what tones you want. I mean, that could make a lot of sense. You know, it's kind of occurring to me, like, you know, I guess you're doing the same thing at the end of the day with either one, right? Like, you have to program it. You have to spend some time making some choices on what sounds are yours. Mm-hmm. I think, you know, obviously the pedal board's a little more static. I guess the Helix, you could swap patches out arguably a little faster or a little quicker.
This would take a little bit more time for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know, I don't know. There's something that it always comes back to the physical pedal. I don't know, there's some, like you said earlier, there's some connection there, right?
Like building your board and then putting the pedals where you want.
Yeah, like literally Velcroing
there's something
them.
about just that feeling.
Yeah, of like, you know? Yeah, of getting in there and just like working it out, right? Mm-hmm. I would say there was like a lot of fun there, and it's like a creative project that you're doing for yourself, and you're also committing on a high level to what you believe your sound to be, you know?
Well, I think we're going to keep these talking ones pretty short for today. I guess in general, we're going to try to do a lot more of these, maybe in between every pedal episode, just to kind of keep you guys updated on our lives, all the weird shit that we do, all the weird sounds that we're going to make.
Our random commentary on industry news, and odd things happening in the music industry and good things too.
Mm-hmm. And to just throw in the question of the day, what do you guys think about multi-effects processors? Are you more of an analog guy? Do you want to have that flexibility that Ian was talking about? Or would you rather have that commitment that I'm talking about? Which one do you want to go for?
Thank you for checking out our episode today. We really appreciate it. And as always, if you want to reach out to us or let us know what you think about our question of the day, you can find us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at the Stompbox Situation. And if you want to email us, we're at stompboxpod@gmail.com. That's stompboxpod@gmail.com. And we had a lot of fun recording this episode, as we always do. And we look forward to catching you guys on the next ones. Stomp on.